What up, girl? Welcome to Offensive, where we always have our Dak in a box. Step 1, cut a hole in that box. Step 2, put Jerry Junk in that box. Step 3, put the box in the ground.
And never dig it up again. Jerry's dead. Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
If you can guess our costumes here, got Cobra Kai, and we got Sonic, and we got me, JT. What up, girl? When I'm not hanging out with Jessica Simpson and Britney Spears and stuff, I'm watching NFL football games, and we're going to talk about some of the games and some of the cool stuff happening. We're going to talk about the games coming up this week. They're getting us excited.
Let's do it. Week number 9. Now, we already saw Baltimore beat Miami. We all predicted that Miami would have a good game and then a terrible game. But let's pick our favorite games of the weekend, and I'm going to start, okay? My favorite game of this weekend is actually Seattle and Washington on Monday night. So one of the Monday night games, because I'm
confused. Seattle, that's in Washington, right?
That's in Washington. Yeah, that's in Washington. And this, I've been saying, guys, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I think Seattle is a legitimate contender in the NFC. I think they're a sleeper contender. I think their defense is good enough. And I think Sam Darnold, if he doesn't go in pumpkin mode, which he will in the NFC Championship game if they make it, which I'm saying they're a long shot to do it, I think Seattle's a very, very, very good team. And we all kind of talked about how we thought Washington was going to take a bit of a step back. Well, they've taken a pretty significant step back, it looks like. But they're still a tough team, and they're going to be tough at home. Jaden should be back for this game. So I'm actually really excited to see if Seattle can go into Washington and basically slap them up a little bit, which if they're a really good team, I feel like they should do. Now, if you win by a touchdown or two, a win is a win, right? Like we were saying, a win is a win. But I really want to see Darnold go in there and just own this defense. The Washington defense has had a lot of struggles this year, especially in the passing game, especially covering like short yardage outs and things like that. The Packers kind of took it to them a little bit. The Chiefs obviously did in the second half last game after Mahomes had a bunch of turnovers in the first half. So again, I don't think Washington is a great team right now, but I think Washington is still going to fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if Washington actually won this game, but I'm actually thinking that Seattle's going to go in there and beat them by two scores. I'm thinking like a 10 or 11 point win. That's what I'm hoping for, to see Seattle kind of take that next step, prove me right. Sam Darnold continue along the way and throw 49 passes to JSN this game. That's what I want to see. 49 passes to JSN, because he's been carrying my fantasy team. He's been unbelievable this year. JSN.
I mean, he went from just throwing to Justin Jefferson to just throwing to JSN,
Yeah, man. Love those J's. Dude, if you have a kid that you want to be a wide receiver, give him a J name, because it's pretty common these days in the NFL.
You guys want to know some Sam Darnold trivia?
Yes,
sure.
Please.
Okay, guess who's the number 1 quarterback according to PFF this year in 2025, the year of our Lord?
I believe it's got to be Sam Darnold, since you brought him up.
6'3" Sam Darnold, right? He's overcoming his 1-inch height difference between him and the 6'4" quarterbacks, but he's
right.
He can do it.
Also,
guess what quarterback, his QBR rating is higher than Joe Burrow's QBR rating of last year, when Joe Burrow, everyone thought he should win the MVP. It's Sam Darnold.
Sure.
Sam, seriously?
Yeah,
wow.
His QBR is higher this year than Joe Burrow was last year.
Season.
Yeah.
Yeah, his QBR is like a 72, and I believe Joe Burrow's last year was a 71.
Wow, that's
and
impressive.
One of the things that helps it is we thought the Seahawks, one of their weaknesses would be their offensive line. They drafted just the one guy in the first round, but their offensive line has been punching above their weight so far this year. They've actually been pretty good. Now that might be complimentary as far as Darnold getting the ball quick to JSN,
obviously.
And I don't think that Washington's defensive line, I don't think that's a strength. So
nope.
I think you got to sell. I really expect them to win this game.
Washington,
they're old. Darnold. It's the second half of the season. They need to take their Centrum Silver just to get out to the field. And I think Seattle should have a pretty good day here.
Here's another Sam Darnold stat. Seattle is number 2 in the league in DVOA for passing offense. Yep. They're the second best, most efficient passing offense in the entire league.
Guys, strike first, no mercy. That's Sam Darnold.
Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg. Strike first, no mercy.
It doesn't matter what
Sam
dojos
Darnold.
he's in, he's taking over.
Dude, no. I mean, we saw he was good last year. A lot of people didn't know what to expect him going to Seattle. A lot of people thought he would be pretty good, but he's been just he picked right up where he left off after he left Minnesota. Yes, the last 2 games are terrible. Also, the Vikings also do that in the playoffs every single year. So it might not just be Sam Darnold. But yeah, he's looking good in Seattle. My prediction's feeling pretty good. So let's go to Chief up there. Chief, what's your favorite game of the weekend so far?
My favorite is going to be a battle of top 4 defenses. It's going to be the Broncos versus the Houston Texans. Just because one of the things that Houston did last week against the Niners is they traditionally like to play a lot of man. Last week, they knew that the Niners weren't going to be able to do a lot of deep passing and whatnot, just because that's not the way that Mac Jones plays. So they played almost exclusively in zone. They did a lot of cover 6. They did a lot of cover 4 with quarters and whatnot, because they couldn't threaten anything off the top. Now you come to Bo Nix is going to come to town. He still can't take, he's not going to be a threat 20 yards plus down the field. So I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. And then on the other side, you have the elite defense for the Broncos. They don't have Patrick Surtain, but when he got hurt last week, you saw Riley Moss. He stepped up against the Dallas Cowboys, which is saying quite a bit. And then you had, again, Jody Barron. He got his first interception of the year. I really like the wide receiving core, the depth that the Houston Texans wide receiving core has. They have a lot of different pieces. But the ultimate deciding factor in this game is going to be the defensive line for the Denver Broncos versus the offensive line for the Houston Texans. I think that's going to be the deal breaker. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but I think there's going to be a lot of fantastic plays here, because I do believe there's dynamic players on both sides. But because right now I believe the Texans are picked to win by 1.5 like they were last week.
Do you agree with that, Dave, that the Texans are going to lose at home to Denver?
Oh, no, I think that the Texans they're favored to win by a point.
Oh, they're favored to win. Do you think they're going to win against
That's
them?
what their defense, and because Bo Nix, he can't press it downfield.
Well, I liked what the Texans did last week, but we even talked about it on the show. DeMeco Ryans is a 49ers guy, so he knows that Shanahan offense. And you could see in the first 2.5 quarters, like the Shanahan offense couldn't do anything because DeMeco just had them game planned up, right? And so Texans took this huge lead. And then San Francisco came back, scored a couple more points, right? They got it kind of close, and then the Texans took over. So I think we all kind of expected the Texans defense to play really well against the backup quarterback and backup players for San Francisco. Do we expect them to put a stop to Bo Nix's offense? Now, again, he did really well against the Giants. He did really well against the Cowboys. A lot of teams have done that this year. So do we think he has – Doug, what do you think Bo Nix is going to do?
So I have some interesting stats for you. Listening to Denver radio, they were up this great stat. Like the Texans are really good in their nickel defense. When they just rush 4 with their amazing defensive line and they play nickel, they've gotten 5 interceptions in the last 5 games in their nickel defense. Also, Bo Nix is terrible throwing against nickel defense. His passer rating is abysmal versus nickel defense.
Yes,
He's really good when you're in like a 4-3 or you're in like a run defense. He can like take advantage of you. But when he's going against a nickel defense, he's like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. So like the Texans, they can actually beat Bo Nix and overwhelm him and outplay him on defense. This is the thing though. If the Broncos can establish a running game and push the Texans around, which is a little bit of the Texans' weakness, the Broncos might be able to have success there. But if they can't run the ball against the Texans and establish that, Bo Nix might be toast.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for like guys that don't have strong arms, nickel versus 4-3. Because 4-3, when you run a 3-receiver set or you're running a tight end against a middle linebacker or sometimes on an open edge, like guys that don't have really strong arms basically play the matchup. Your guy has better speed than the defensive guy. Where nickel is meant to negate that. Nickel is my cornerback's going to cover wide receiver, or if you have 3 receivers, we have 3 cornerbacks, or if you're running a tight end, my cornerback's going to be on your tight end. So the separation is smaller. So guys that don't have rocket arms have to be more precise, and they can't, they can't take advantage of their offensive guy being in an advantageous position, right? So this is why I think Bo Nix struggles so much. But not only that, I feel like the teams that he's played, the ones that play more nickel defense have been a little bit better, to be honest. So I think that plays into it as well. But I think the Texans are going to shut down the Broncos offense. I think that huge outburst against the Cowboys is just a result of the Cowboys. Like, let's be honest. The Cowboys let everybody look like a superstar against them. Literally everybody. Okay. If Bo Nix goes and scores 30 points on the Texans, I will be impressed and I will take it back. But I don't think they even score 20 points in this game. And I think the Texans.
I'd be impressed for 20.
I think the Broncos are going to be down, and they're going to try to rally, and maybe he can make some Bo Nix magic happen. But those games where the Broncos don't look good, and then he has to make a comeback. It's going to be one of those games like this, I think.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to be down.
He's only looked good against the bad defenses this year. When he plays a good defense, he's wilted. And one of the things I really like that Houston did last week against the Niners is they actually started moving over to jumbo packages because they acknowledge, okay, our line is a weakness. They go to jumbo package. They're able to get some runs. They're able to get my favorite name out there, Woody Marks, get him out there in the flat as far as dump offs, play action him, get him out to the flats, and he got a 50-yard run and whatnot. So if they switch over to jumbo packages just to try to get the running game to the outside and whatnot to try to offset that inside game, that might be the path because it really helps your run game and whatnot. It helped against the Niners. Again, the Denver defense is a little bit different. But I believe that will be the path for them. And I think that, it's going to be a tight game, but I think 1.5 to them. Yeah, I like Houston in this one.
There's another element here, too. I guess I've heard on some podcasts that C.J. Stroud's starting it because he's had a lot of turnover with wide receivers, right? He's been struggling up and down in his career a bit, but he's had a lot of receivers get hurt and turnover and offense coordinator. So there's been a lot of mayhem on the offense with C.J. Stroud. And of course, he could probably play better during that mayhem. He's had some issues. But he's starting to get comfortable with his receivers and getting used more to the guys around him. And they have a lot of these receivers that are coming off the bench to play. So analysts are saying that they think CJ Stroud's arrow might be pointing up. So he might play a lot better in the second half of the season.
I could see that. And, his offensive line has still struggled. We all knew that was going to happen, but his accuracy has been my biggest question for him. When he's had open guys, it hasn't looked good. But as you said, when you have a lot of different receivers, that half a second of timing makes a big difference because these guys are going so fast. You might throw the ball 20 yards and it's off by a foot and it looks like you made a bad throw. But if you've only thrown that ball to that guy 10 times versus another player that you have that's a little bit faster 100 times, it's hard to sync up perfectly, right? So, yeah, I think he could be better, but I still think C.J. Stroud is not what he was his freshman year at the NFL, his rookie year of the NFL. I think he got a little bit overhyped. And I think he's come back down to earth, but that doesn't mean he's going to stay there.
Every quarterback is a sophomore slump, and I'm saying is I think right now is his chance to bring it back to maybe not to the level he was at, but a pretty competent quarterback where he's not having troubles, and he can do that. But if he does it against the Broncos, that'll be fantastic.
No, and he looked good last week against San Francisco. He did.
And I'm not a fan of how Houston is drafted as far as, I like offensive line protecting him, but the fun pieces that they got, I think it's kind of like the Colts where their wide receiving core, they have a defined X, they have a defined Y, and they have, everyone has their defined roles and whatnot. I like, Kirk and Noel are the same guy. I think Nico Collins, I think he's his own guy, Xavier Hutchinson and Jane Higgins. I think they all fit particular schemes to where it's a fantastic scheme. Unlike, other teams out there where they have a bunch of wide receivers, they're like, let's see what they can do. These are fantastic for the roles that they need to play. So I think that can only be beneficial for CJ Stroud. So,
all right, well, that should be a good game. Now let's go to JT. JT, what's your favorite game of the weekend?
What up, ladies? So when I look in the box, what do I see? My prime time late night special was the middle of the day special, actually.
Oh, Jake's Raiders, right?
No. I was thinking about talking about Vikings Lions here a little bit, but we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about Colts Steelers. Now,
there you go.
This game, the Colts might run over the Steelers. The Steelers might be on a tailwind and they might be out of it. If they can't run their jumbo package and do the things they like to do, Rodgers is getting overhyped this year. Yeah, he's been doing pretty good, but if you look at all of his analytics and his ratings, he's still a mid-level quarterback, right?
Sure.
They like to hype him up and everything because the Steelers are a premium NFL team, so people like to say nice things about him. their defense is getting old. They're one of those teams that can swing any way. They could have a good game and beat the Colts. It's possible. They have a lot of good players on their team, but they're getting old. So it's like not likely to happen. So the Steelers defense, I think, is going to get pushed around by the Colts offensive line. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a nice game. I think they're going to be able to pass all day. I think Indiana Jones is going to be built the deep passes all day against this defense, and they'll probably win. But I think it'll be really interesting to gauge how good are the Packers. The Packers kind of whipped the Steelers in the second half of that game. Are the Steelers actually that bad? Or are the Steelers actually pretty decent and the Packers are just that much better? I think this game is going to give us a gauge of like, are the Steelers a contending team or not?
I like that take in the sense that I think if the Steelers get like boat raced in this game, like it's only downhill the rest of the season.
Yeah.
As good as the Colts are, you're at home. You just got beaten in a loss where your fans were getting out chanted by the home, like by the visitor fans. Like it's embarrassing. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is on pace to allow the most yards per play, and the most points of any year under Mike Tomlin since he's been the coach. Okay. So their defense has been bad in many games. And here's the sad part about it, guys. They have not played that many good teams.
No.
And they still are on pace to be that bad. So the Steelers, if they have pride and if they're going to turn it around, I'm not even saying win, but you better keep it close. And you better not let the Colts score 37 on you. Because, yes, this is the best offense in the NFL today right now. So it's not an embarrassment for them to score 37, but that just means that you can't stop anybody. Like you're not the Steelers of old who could, if you went into Pittsburgh, I didn't care if your offense was number one in the league, like you had trouble. You had a difficult time scoring against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And they are not that team this year. I thought Rodgers would be a middle of the road quarterback and they would be a good defense, and that's why they'd win 7 or 8, maybe 9 games. It's been the opposite. Rodgers has been a little bit better than a middle of the road quarterback, but the offense isn't the problem. It's the defense that's the problem. The defense has been horrible compared to what Steelers defenses should be. So I think this is a huge game for the Steelers. If they show up and they fight, then I might have some faith they can make the playoffs. If they get rocked by the Colts, I think it's just a downward trajectory from
with
here.
Their offensive line woes, they might get boat raced because if they can't run the ball, they can't run the ball, Rodgers and the offense completely might just be toast.
Yeah. I mean, they can't keep up. This Steelers offense, again, hasn't been bad, but they are not built to be in a scoring game. They are built to win 22-18 or 24-20. They are not built to win 31-28. That is not how they're built. And nobody expected the Steelers defense to be this bad. Do you know what I mean? Like they are bad. And they just traded for Ramsey.
Kind of remind me of like the Packers when Rodgers was around, when they had like one big receiver, like DK Metcalf's their prime receiver. Then he has to kind of figure out what to do with the rest of it. The running game's like kind of good. The defensive secondary keeps screwing up and just letting things happen. It's kind of funny how it reminds me of like Packers from 5 years ago.
No kidding, right? Yeah, feels very much like 2019, 2020 Packers, right? Like the end of the McCarthy era, before McCarthy was out and the defense was just atrocious and Rodgers was doing everything he could to hold their heads above water, right? So, and that was a better version of Rodgers than this one.
Dave, what do you think with your darling team, the Colts here? Do you think they're going to beat them by a few scores?
It's not even worth talking about, unfortunately.
Just like the Colts will win.
You got
by
Cam
4.
Hayward, you got Joey Porter Jr., and that's it on the defense. Everyone else is graded poorly. They're not showing up. They're old. They're broken. The scheme has been exploited.
Their defensive line is really good.
When you have 4 playmakers that can make a defense. Unfortunately, they only had 2. They don't have the disruption there on the front. So, yeah.
TJ Watt won them like 3 or 4 games a year for like the last 4 years, and he hasn't showed up. There's games where TJ Watt had strip sacks, touchdowns, like it was a close game, and then TJ Watt made a play. And they leaned on that defense and that playmaking ability, and it just hasn't shown up. Not only has that not shown up, but it hasn't even been close enough games for that to even matter. You know? Yep. So yeah, I'm worried about this Pittsburgh team, and it could be a blowout. But I want to see if they can fight. That's why it's an interesting game to me.
The thing though is that their defensive line ratings, like PFF, are super high. The rest of the defense is so bad, though. Quarterbacks can just throw the ball at will on them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they're getting a good pass rush and disrupting, but the quarterback's like, whatever, everyone's open. Who cares?
Yeah, well, Jordan Love had 20 straight completions for a reason. He was figuring out what they were doing. You know what I mean? And the Packers
They're
offensive
literally in
line,
their secondary just running into each other. Like, oops,
Yeah.
wait, which way do I go?
and the Packers offensive line hasn't graded great. And so if Pittsburgh's graded good and the Packers have graded bad, like they got what, 3 pressures on them all game, 0 sacks.
Yeah.
Like there's something missing here. There's something missing.
Well, LaFleur is also really good at scheming against like elite pass rushers at times. You know, like he took Dak out in the playoffs that year. Dak did do nothing. So like all the chips and stuff. So that's one thing LaFleur is good at.